Okay, so if you don't know, Ford this week announced that they're going to actually shift production of the Ford Focus from Mexico to China. Now, at the moment, it's still in Michigan in the US, but the original plan, let's talk about the original plan first. The original plan was to actually invest in uh, a factory in Mexico to build the Ford Focus that then shifted over to using the factory that they have now in Mexico to build the Ford Focus. And now I assume this is the final thing that they've laid out and what they're actually going to stick with. They're going to shift from that to actually just producing the car in China and importing it here in the United States. Now I'm going to take a look at some of this stuff and I want to explain to you why I think this does not include the Ford Focus ST and the Focus RS. Now, I'm not too sure about Fiesta ST. That might be bundled in there as well. But for right now, I'm going to focus on Focus RS and Focus ST. So you're asking why? Why is the North American Focus going to be produced in China and actually imported? Wouldn't that cost more because of, import taxes and stuff? Well, the executive would actually say no, and it probably will still be beneficial to do it there instead of Mexico, even if there are some new import taxes that might be implemented from now until mid 2019, the second half of 2019, when they actually start production in China. So in this press release, Ford's actually claiming it's going to be about $1 billion in investment costs that they're going to save compared to the original plan, which was to actually invest into making a new plant in Mexico. To go off of the second plan, which was to use the existing plant in Mexico to make the Focus, they're stating that's going to be about a $500 million savings on investment costs. So 500 million split between both, which equal about $1 billion altogether. So why are they doing this? The Ford Focus in the US is not really selling well at all. I'll show you this chart here. From 2015 on, it's actually been a steady decline. So in 2015, there's a decline compared to 2014. 16, there's a decline. Now, when you look at 17, of course, 17 is not over with yet. When you actually compare from January into May for both 17 and 16, there's around a 20% decrease in sales from those block of months right there, that block of months. So that's why profit margins are trying to get better for the Focus here in the US. It's costing them too much to continue to build the Focus here in Michigan compared to Mexico or China. They were going to save money doing it in Mexico, and now they're going to save even more money doing it in China. So the profit margins is really the reason why Ford's trying to shift production of the Focus to China, because it's not selling well in the United States anymore. So what better way to continue to sell the product and try to make a little money off of it than to shift production to China? Now, of course, this is probably going to make a lot of people mad because of different reasons wherever you lie in the political spectrum, but business-wise, it makes sense. So in this press release here, it does confirm a couple of things about the new Focus. So we see at mid-2018, production is going to actually stop at the Michigan plant. And the second half of 2019 is when production is going to begin. So that means that the new Ford Focus is going to be a 2020 vehicle. Okay, so what's the Michigan plant going to do now that the Focus is gone? Well, in mid-2018, like I already said, they're going to end production. So that means in late 2018, they're going to be ready for producing the brand new Ranger that's going to be out for 2019 as a 2019 model year vehicle. In 2020, that plant's also going to be producing the Bronco. So the Ranger and the Bronco are the two vehicles that are going to be produced at the Michigan plant now that the Focus is gone. Now, as I read through this, I wasn't going to make this video because, my channel focuses a lot on Focus ST, and I really want to focus on Focus RS. If anybody's around me, hit me up. I saw this in the press release, and I had to make this because I don't think people are really talking about this. I haven't seen this anywhere. I could be reading into this too much, but this did catch my eye. So I want to read this part of the press release verbatim so you can really get a feel for it. This is talking about production of the Focus in China. This production begins in the second half of 2019, with models coming from the company's existing Focus plants globally. Most new North American Focus models initially will come from China, with additional variants coming from Europe later. Now, this added on piece here, additional variants coming from Europe later, to me, that is referring to the Focus ST and the Focus RS. I'm pretty sure a new Focus RS is going to come to the US. I mean, we don't particularly know right now, but I'm thinking it's going to happen later on down the line when Ford actually unveils a new RS for the new generation. Now, I'm 100% sure a new Focus ST is coming to the US. And to me, that little tidbit at the end is referring to both the Focus ST and the Focus RS. They're both going to be built in Europe. So why do I think it's safe to say a Focus ST model is going to be built in Europe? Well, when you think about it, the Focus ST and the RS, but I'm talking about the ST at the moment, is Europe's baby. This is Team RS baby. This is Ford of Europe's baby. We just got our hands on the Focus ST model year 2013, but there was a previous generation before that we never got a chance to get. It wasn't until 2013 when Ford's SVT and Team RS kind of came together and produced this 2013 Focus ST, which was then sold here in the United States. Now, when you look at time now, you know, the SVT team, Team RS and stuff is all into one. It's called Ford Performance. But back then, they kind of merged them to create the new Focus ST, and it did wonderfully. It's selling well for Ford. Ford continues to put out press releases talking about how, and here in America and in Europe, talking about how, you know, sales for their performance vehicles, the Focus Fiesta and Focus RS, the Focus ST, Fiesta ST, and Focus RS, are actually doing very well for them. And it's bucking the trend of small vehicles on a decline here in the US. So with that being Ford of Europe's baby, I'm pretty sure that's referring to the Focus ST being built in Europe and also the Focus RS being built in Europe. We already know that the Focus RS is going to be built in Europe because the current Focus RS is actually already built in Germany anyways. So that I don't see that shifting. So, you know, like I said, if that was your viewpoint, if you saw this and you're like, oh, I don't want a Chinese built Ford Focus, Ford Focus ST rather, then there's some hope for you that, you know, the model can actually be built. The model will probably actually be built in Europe and not in China. Now, if you're wondering though, you may see a lot of stuff. You may be mad at Ford. I can't believe they're, you know, producing a car in China, made in China, blah, blah, blah. You're like upset about it. Just know that there are a couple of vehicles at the moment that are actually being produced in China and imported into the United States. You do have Volvo for obvious reasons. If you don't know why I said that, then just look it up. And you have two GM vehicles as well. The Buick Envision is actually a Chinese vehicle that is being made and imported into the United States. That was actually announced in January of last year, in case you didn't know. And the Cadillac CT6, the plug-in hybrid, is actually built in China and is actually imported too. So the rise of Chinese manufacturing of cars, it's on the incline, and I won't be surprised if within the next couple of years we see some of those Chinese exclusive car brands kind of making their way over to North America. We'll see. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video. Hit me up anywhere if you have any questions, if you want to talk about Focus ST or anything like that. I will see you soon. I'm gone.